All right, so you're sitting back onto your heels, resting your forehead on your mat. So in this child's pose, if your arms are extended over your head and it feels good, keep them there. If your shoulders are hurting tonight, I want you to bring your arms back beside your feet. And just take a couple of deep inhales and exhales in this child's pose. Reflect on your day, but only on the positive things. Let go of anything else that was less than positive. Set an intention for your practice. Invite some healing energy onto your mat and into your body. Once you set your intention, take a nice big deep inhale. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and exhale that intention out and into your amazing universe. When you're ready to begin, come up onto all fours, tabletop. You lift your feet up, and you're just going to shift your heels to the left and to the right. We're going to start on our necks and work on our wrists and our ankles and everything in between. So in order to work on your neck, I'm going to have you come into a cross-legged pose. So lower your feet down to the floor, cross your ankles, roll back and over your feet, sitting in that cross-legged pose, resting your hands on your knees, sitting up nice and tall. So let's start with some movements to your neck. So you're going to roll your neck to the left and to the right. So start with your right ear above your right shoulder, and then roll your neck over to the left. And just take your time. And for some of you, there might be a spot, like a very particular spot that makes you stop for a second or makes you hold your breath for a moment. And maybe, since we are taking the time today, maybe you want to pause at that spot and try to let your breath loosen up those muscles that are causing the tension. Do this one more time in each direction. Then slowly lift your neck up back into neutral. So the next stretch is for your upper trapezius. So the muscle that connects your neck to your shoulder. I want you to bring your right ear to your right shoulder. Take your right hand and just place it gently over your right ear. Now, the tendency or the habit would be to pull your neck. I don't want you to do that. I just want you to let your arm go heavy. And just let the weight of your arm give you this beautiful stretch along the left side of your neck. You want some more? Put your fingertips down to the mat and gently press your fingertips on that left hand to the floor. Then you'll feel this nice little gentle burn, your connective tissue releasing on the left side of your neck. Release your head, gently lift your head back up into neutral. Let's try the other side. Left ear to left shoulder. Lift your left arm up, place it just above your ear, and I know, don't pull, rest. So let your arm go heavy, let the weight of your arm give you that nice stretch, this time to the right side. So I'm feeling this all the way from the bottom of my ear to the tip of my shoulder. And then I'm going to press into the floor with my fingertips on my right hand, just so that I'm getting the stretch from origin to insertion of that muscle group. All right, slowly come back up. The next stretch is actually called an armpit sniffer stretch. So you're going to take your right hand, you're going to lift it up, and you're going to place your nose in the direction of your armpit. And grab the back of your head. This time you are going to kind of pull your neck downward gently. as if you were sniffing your armpit. Yay! Making sure that natural deodorant works. And this is going to get your levator scapula, so all the way from the base of your skull to the back of your shoulder. All right, gently lift back up, other side. So you're going to rotate your neck toward your left armpit. Lower your head, take that left arm, lift it up, and then gently kind of bring your nose as close to your armpit as possible while you're still sitting up nice and tall. And again, I'm feeling this in the back of my right side of my neck, all the way into the back of my left shoulder. All right, gently lift your neck back up. Good work. If you want to do a couple more rolls to the left and to the right, you absolutely can. All right, slowly lifting your head back up. You're going to give yourself a hug. So you're going to clasp your arms around your back as if you're grasping onto the medial border of your scapula. So this is what it looks like from behind. You're just the blades of your shoulders. All right, so from here, my left arm's on top of my right, so I'm just going to lift both arms up, coming into eagle wrap. So you're going to glide your fingertips up to the ceiling and then pull your elbows down to the floor. Do this a couple more times. When we do eagle wrap, we mostly are concerned, well, I don't know about you, but I am mostly concerned about my legs, kind of keep balance, not fall over. So I forget about my arms. I'm not actually focusing on my arms. So this is a great way to reap the benefits of this stretch for your shoulders. This technique is actually called flossing. You're gliding the connective tissue against the muscle tissue, creating warmth and a release in that tightness, in that area of tension. All right, so now because my left arm is over my right, I'm going to press into my left hand with my right hand, bringing both hands toward my left shoulder. And as soon as I started doing that, I'm feeling it in the back of my left shoulder. Feels really, really good. Getting into your rotator cuff muscles. All right, slowly come back up. Unwrap your arms. Inhale, look up. And then bring your hands back and across, this time hugging yourself with your right arm on top of your left shoulder. Squeezing as tight as possible. You deserve a great big hug. All right, and now when you're ready, straighten both hands up to the ceiling, eagle wrapping your arms. Again, gliding up and down. So you're lifting your fingertips up to the ceiling and then pulling your elbows to the floor. I know one shoulder is always going to feel a little bit tighter, or you might feel more sensation on one side, depending on which arm you're more dominant in. All right, so let's take both hands to the right. So I'm pushing into my right palm with my left hand, just giving that shoulder a beautiful stretch. Feels so good. All right, slowly release. Inhale, lift both arms up. So you're gonna keep your right hand where it is. Take your left hand behind your back. You're gonna clasp your fingers behind your back. Try to sit up nice and tall. If you can't quite reach your fingers, you can use a towel or the back of your t-shirt. I wouldn't recommend using your cap. Leroy would not like that. All right, good job. Release, shake it out. Inhale as you lift both arms up. We are going to go to the other side, so keep that left hand lifted. Take your right hand behind your back, bending both elbows, crossing those fingers. And back now on this side, as you can see, I have to try it a little harder. We'll get there, but I have to put more effort into it. And that again is because my right shoulder is my dominant shoulder, so it's a little looser, more reliable. Notice we are holding the stretches for a few extra breaths. Got nice peaceful music in the background. All right, release those hands. Go ahead and shake it out. Shake out your arms, shake out your legs. We'll come back into tabletop because we have our wrists towards up. So remember, in your tabletop, your wrists are underneath your shoulders and your knees are underneath your hips. Actually, let's start with some cat-cow arches. So you're gonna inhale, look up to the ceiling, and then reverse the curve in your spine. Inhale, look up. Exhale, looking into your belly button. It's a great way to ground into your breath. Great way to get some length and some breath in your spine. All right, on your last one. Go ahead and bring your spine to neutral. So for your wrists, the first thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to put your palms over. So your thumbs and your fingers are pointing towards your knees. I know. And then if you can, try to step back a little bit. You'll feel that stretch. So the important thing is to keep your elbows straight so your arms are straight. Because if you bend your elbows, you're missing out on the stretch. Slowly come back up. Bring your hands back into your downward facing dog and we'll flip them the other way. So now your palms are facing the mat, your fingertips are still facing your knees, and then you're going to lean back a little bit more. This gets your forearm flexors. So these guys right here. As a massage therapist, I stretch these up all the time. All right, come back up. Let's try that again. So come back into table, now put your palms up. Sit back. See if you can sit back a little further. Slowly come back up. Let's do that again with our palms on the floor. Thumbs are out, fingertips are pointing towards our knees. And then lean back. All right, slowly come back into your down dog. We're just going to do a movement at your elbows. So you're going to keep your hands where they are. Just going to roll your elbows in a circular fashion, like a half circle. So you're not moving your shoulders or bending your elbows. You're just rotating the radius around the ulna, which are the two bones in your forearm. All right, and then I'd like you to place your hands. Fingertips are mat width apart. Fingertips are pointing out to the left and to the right. Just create a side-to-side rocking movement. If you feel like you're losing your balance, then widen your knees. And then do the same thing with your wrists touching. And then we're going to do the same thing, except now our palms are flipped. So our palms are facing us, palms are mat width apart. Just create some left to right movement. Again, another way to get into your forearm extensors. And then last time, flipping those palms up. All right, then come back into your downward facing dog. Make sure your knees are underneath your hips, toes are underneath your shoulders. So now you're going to pull your toes under. You're going to sit back into a child's pose, but your toes are pulled under. And then when you walk your hands back, you're going to come into like a toe stand position, except both knees are on the floor, hands are on your knees. So we'll go ahead and lower our knees back down to the floor. Come back into child's pose, taking the pressure off of your toes. Then you're going to come back up into hero pose. And now I can really feel that in parts of my feet. And then if you want a little bit more, resting on the balls of your feet, see if you can find that balance point. Lower your knees down to the floor. Lower your forehead onto the mat. We'll do this once more. Coming up into hero pose. Lifting our knees off the floor, and then if you want a little bit more, just kind of hover. Just a little lift, not a lot. Beautiful, and then lower back down. Lower your knees down to the floor. Flatten out your feet. Now come back into your child's pose. Feels really good in the front of your shins. Your tibialis anterior muscles. So now we're going to come up into a kneeling position. Bring your arms out. Make sure your knees are underneath your hips. You're not going to let your hips drop. You're going to lean back. You're going to automatically feel the stretch in your quadriceps. Then slowly come back up. Lower back down onto your heels. Child's pose. When you have your arms back like this, by your feet is called Buddha pose. All right, slowly come back up. We'll do that 2 more times. Slowly. This is a really good thing to do for your knees and your hip flexors. And then slowly come back up. Sitting back onto your heels. Child's pose. Last time, slowly come back up. I'm keeping my arms out here just for counterbalance. You can keep your hands out here to the side and do it just as easily. All right, slowly come back up, lowering onto your heels, sitting back into child's pose. Gently coming up, back into your tabletop. We'll come into Malasana, so roll back onto your feet, right through your hips, hands to heart center. Rocking to the left and to the right, shifting your hips. And then we'll bind in our Malasana. Left hand on the floor, right hand up. Bind, bending both elbows, looking up to the ceiling, clasping your hands behind your back. Great stretch for your shoulders. Bring your hands back to heart center. Let's try the other side. Straightening up both arms, pressing your right hand to the floor, energizing your left hand up to the ceiling. Stay here or go bind by clasping both hands behind your back. And then gently bring your hands back to your back of the mat in your Malasana. So what you're going to do now is you're going to slowly place your hands on the floor. Draw your hands forward, allowing your knees to drop onto your mat. Modified plank. Slow chaturanga. Come up into your cobra pose. Look to the left, look to the right. Get a nice stretch for the sides of your neck. All right, so we're going to do this a few more times, except extending into swan pose. So you're going to lift your hips up, walk your hands back, curl your toes under, into Malasana. So it's very important not to stay in this position. Make sure you adjust. So I like to put my elbows in the insides of my knees, lengthening into my spine. Lower your hands down to the floor, walk your hands forward, so your knees will touch. And in your Malasana, your feet are mat width apart. And so they're gonna stay that way in your swan pose. So your feet and your hands are at the length of your mat. Look to the left, look to the right. Always feels good to stretch the front of your body. All right, so lift your hips up, walk your hands back, curl your toes under Malasana. One more time. Make it your best one. Take your time. Slowly walk your hands forward as your knees touch the floor. Lower yourself down to the floor. Extending your arms, stretching out your fingertips. Swan pose. Look to the left. Look to the right. All right, walk your hands back into table. Make sure your knees are underneath your hips. Go ahead and stand up, or stand on your knees. Lifting your arms up, just give yourself a gentle back bend. So you're gonna take your hands behind your back, pushing your hips forward. Just a gentle back bend. And slowly come back up, lowering back down onto all fours. We'll thread our needles. So go ahead and take that right hand underneath your left, resting your head and your right shoulder on the floor to walk your left hand out in front of you. Adjusting your hips back to the center of your mat. Walk your left hand back in. With one big inhale, lift that right arm up. I think my back cracked about 5 different times in 5 different locations. Go ahead and wrap that right hand behind your back. I know this is my favorite thing to do from now on. So we're going to lift that left arm up to the ceiling. Allow that right hand to rest on your right heel. Take your back bend on fire, camel pose. Inhale as you lift both arms up. Slowly lower down onto all fours. Slide your left hand underneath your right. Walk your right hand up in front of you. Take a breath. Take a second breath. And then take another inhale, followed by another exhale. All right, walk that right hand back in. And one big deep inhale, lift your left hand up to the sky. And then wrap that left hand behind your back. Keep your left hand behind your back as you inhale, lift that right arm up. Coming up onto your knees. Go ahead and let that left hand slide onto your left heel as you take your back bend. Go ahead and lift both arms up, lowering down onto all fours. We'll finally exhale into downward facing dog. Lifting your knees off of your mat. Pressing your heels onto your mat. Spread your fingers nice and wide on your mat. Make sure your feet are apart. Let your head go heavy in between both arms. Walk it out, alternating lifting and lowering your heels. Usually my down dogs feel a little challenging, my first down dog. Now that we did all of that stuff to our wrists and our ankles, it feels really good. I have to do that warm up every time. For your three-legged down dog, bring your feet together. Lift that right leg all the way up to the ceiling. I want you to bend that right knee to make a circle. So you're going to circle with your knee. 3 clockwise, and then 3 counterclockwise. I know I usually encourage you to either shake your leg out or bend your knee. This time I want you to actively massage out that hip joint. All right, lower that right foot back down to the floor. Let's try the other side. Inhale, lift that left leg up. Stack it on top of your right. Go ahead and shake it out and then bend your knee in a circle. So pretend your knee is a crayon or a pen or a pencil. You're trying to make the biggest circle ever with your knee. And then slowly lower that left foot down to the floor. Make sure your feet are back to the front. You're going to lower down onto your elbows and forearms for your dolphin pose. You want to walk your feet up as close to your elbows and forearms as possible. So bend your knees, hovering them just above your mat, and then straighten your legs. This is just a couple more times, just to really get into the arches of your feet. And then on your last one, lower your knees down to the floor, sit back into child's pose, place your hands together, resting your thumbs on the back of your neck, just to get into your triceps. And then when you're ready, come back into downward facing dog. So come up onto all fours into your table, curl your toes under, exhale, and press your heels onto your mat down low. Walking it out, alternating lifting and lowering your heels. This time we'll start on the right side. So come kind of balls to your feet onto your right foot forward. Lower down onto your left knee. Inhale as you lift both arms up. Palms are facing each other. There's a deep bend in that right knee, but your ankle is right underneath that right knee. Go ahead and clasp your hands behind your back, slide your knuckles down the back of your sacrum, roll your shoulders open, tilt your chin up to the ceiling. This is a great heart opening stretch. Inhale as you lift both arms up. Lower both hands down to the floor. You're going to shift your hips back, sitting all the way back down onto your left heel, down your forehead onto your right knee. We're going to come up into pyramid pose. So you're going to lunge forward, bending into your right knee, lifting your left knee up and straighten both legs. And now point the toes on your right foot up to the ceiling. Just to get into that calf muscle, you rest up just a little bit more. Still resting your forehead onto your right knee. We'll come into revolve triangle, so if you can keep your toes lifted, keep them lifted. If you want more support, by all means, lower your entire foot down to your mat. Wrap that right hand behind you. Slowly extend your right arm over your head. Go ahead and lower your right hand down to the floor. Coming into your triangle, lift your left hand up. Wrap that left hand behind your back. Exhale, extend your left arm over your head. Lower your left hand down to the floor. Now, make sure your hips are facing the front of your mat as you inhale, lift both arms up. Gently take that left hand behind your back, sliding that left hand down the back of your left hamstring. Slowly take your back bend, reversing your triangle. Go ahead and lower both hands down to the floor, onto your mat. So listen carefully. You're going to now bend into that right knee. You're going to roll onto your left palm. This is a good stretch for your left IT band. So rest your right hand on your knee, and you're just going to drop your left hip to the mat and then lift it back up. Drop your left hip to the mat, lift it back up nice and slow. Drop your hip to the mat, lift it up. Good job. I'm going to do one more just because it felt really good. All right, and then on your last one, keep your hip on the floor. You're going to roll onto your hips. So now that left foot is high up into your left hip crease. And then slowly place your hands on either side of your left knee. You're going to slide your hands forward. Getting a deep stretch. Your knees. So if your knees are bothering you, you may be lifted. You might be right here. If you can go further, go further. So we'll do this 2 more times. Inhale, sit up. Exhale, glide your hands forward. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, glide your hands forward. Last time. Lifting your chest up. Exhale, glide your hands forward. Good job. All right, slowly sit up. You're going to adjust your foot. So now place it just above your knee. You're going to bend your left knee, coming into a variation of pigeon pose, kind of. We'll do pigeon later, don't worry. I'm not going to cheat you out of pigeon tonight. And you're just going to rock to the left and to the right. Now I'm feeling this deep in my right hip, underneath my glutes and piriformis. So to go deeper, you can literally squish yourself up like an accordion. Or if you've got really tight hips, you might even be out here. And either, whatever position you're in, you're going to feel this. All right, when you're ready, we'll come into fire log. So this is what it looks like. I want you to slide that bottom foot, which is your left foot, underneath your right knee. because your right foot is ankle is right on top of that right knee. And it's intense. So we're gonna stay here for a breath or two if you want to go deeper. Hands are by your sides. And as you exhale, the weight of your upper body is going to help you stretch into that knee. So as you can tell, you can see as I'm forward folding, my right knee is dropping toward my left foot. And they call this double pigeon as well. All right. Slowly come back up. So we're gonna do something really fun. So we're gonna do half lotus. So you're gonna slide that left foot back up, high up into your left hip crease. You're gonna straighten out, and you're gonna just bend that bottom leg as if it's in a simple cross-legged pose. So you're in half lotus, make sure you're at the foot of your mat. And then when you're ready, you're gonna roll forward, lift your hips up, both knees are on your mat. So you might wanna stay here because you're getting that stretch. But as you walk your hands forward and rest the front of your hips on your mat, it becomes the most amazing stretch in the world. Like, I can't describe how great this feels for my inner thigh, my knee, my foot. And this is basically tree pose, if you think about it, without any of the fear of falling over. So this is what it should feel like if you were perfectly standing up nice and tall without ever losing your balance. I like to stay lifted on my elbows and forearms, but if you want to, you can rest your forehead on your mat. All right, when you are ready, go ahead and walk your hands back. As soon as you roll back onto your knee, your foot will stay where it is. Feels really good. So you're gonna roll all the way back and we'll straighten out that bottom leg. Place the bottom of your right foot on the other side of your left knee. And we'll take this gentle seated spinal twist first. And then untwist, and then re-bend into that right knee and take a deeper seated spinal twist. So still rotating out to the right. And I'm pushing my left elbow on the outside of that right knee. All right, gently untwist. Lengthen both legs out in front of you. Shake them out. Inhale as you lift both arms up, and then as you exhale, forward fold. Move your hips, move your hearts. I don't know about you, but my left leg feels long. My right leg feels longer than my left. We'll straighten that out. We'll even it out in just a moment. So we are going to go to the left side. All right, when you're ready, lift your torso up, slide your heels back into your hips, roll forward up onto all fours, uncross your ankles, exhale, downward facing dog. Good job, walk it out. Alternating, lifting and lowering your heels. We're going to do all of those beautiful poses on the left side. When you're ready. Coming up behind the balls to your feet, lunge your left foot forward, lower down onto that right knee. Inhale as you lift the arms up. So just for variety's sake, I want you to bend your elbows to about 90 degrees, lean back. As if someone's throwing you a big beach ball and you're just leaning back on it. Great stretch for your pecs and your chest. And then you're going to straighten your arms, look forward. Lowering your hands down to the floor, go ahead and slowly shift your hips back. I really want you to sit back onto your right heel, pointing your toes on your left foot up to the ceiling, resting your forehead on your shin or your knee. If you want more, you can grab the outer edge of your left foot with your right hand. And then slowly come all the way back up into pyramid pose. So you're going to bend into that left knee, lift your right knee up, straighten both legs. And I want you to curl and actually lift. Probably is not the right word. Lift your left foot up to the ceiling. I really want you to get into your calf muscles. If you can, keep the lift in that left heel as you revolve your triangle. So you can lift your left hand all the way up. Wrapping that left hand behind your back. Extending your left arm over your head. Lowering that left hand down to the floor for your triangle. Lift your right hand up. Wrapping that right hand behind you. Extending your right arm over your head. Lowering that right hand down to the floor. So for reverse triangle, you will need to put your left foot down to the floor. Inhale as you lift both arms up. Continuing to take that right hand behind your back, using the back of your right hamstring as a guide as you extend that left hand all the way towards the wall behind you. Then slowly come all the way back up. Windmill both hands down to the floor. So now you're going to bend into that left knee. And you're going to keep your right hand onto the floor as you rotate and direct your right hip to the floor. All right, this is that IT band stretch. So adjust your arms so you can fully support. Rest your left hand on your left knee. You're going to lift your hips up and then rest that right hip to the floor. Lift your right hip up. Rest that right hip to the floor. 2 more times. Lift that right hip up. Now I'm feeling it on both hips. Feels really good. And then on your last one, make it a good one. Make it your best one. And then rest on your right hip. So now you're going to roll onto both hips. Placing the bottom of your, or placing your left foot just on top of your right, in your right hip crease. Placing your hands beside, on either side of your right knee. And then as you exhale, forward fold. Gently come back up, create some length in space. Exhale, glide and slide your hands on either side of your right leg. So you can go a little further. Inhale as you lift both arms up. I know we usually take your arms up and then forward fold, but I find that if I do that, I kind of dive forward and arch into my spine. But if you slide your hands down to the floor, it's as if you're leading with your hips, which is a lot more therapeutic. All right, we've got one more to do. Inhale and then exhale. Slide your hands the furthest away. Reach, stretch, and stretching more. Good job. All right, slowly come back up. So you're going to bend your right knee, adjust that left foot. So now it's just above your right knee. Pull up to the left and to the right. So this is like a pigeon pose variation. So you can squish yourself up into the tiniest little spot to really get into your hips. Or you could be all the way up here. Either way, I'm feeling it the same in my hips. It doesn't make a difference for me in my hips. All right, we'll come into double pigeon or fire log. So now you're going to remember the position. It's not a cross-legged pose. Your ankle is on your knee and your knee is on top of your ankle. Hands are beside your hips, away from your hips, and then as you exhale, I'm going to do a forward fold. And see if you can get both knees and ankles to touch. I know this is, I don't even know how I got this deep, because usually my hips are so ridiculously tight. All right, slowly come back up. So we're going to come into that half lotus pose. So slide your foot back up into your right hip crease and walk your hips back the back of your mat. So your right foot is just underneath your hips. So here it comes, you're gonna walk your hands forward, resting on your knees. And then as you continue to walk your hands forward, that right leg will automatically just straighten up behind you. This is that beautiful tree pose. It's in a prone position, so that means you're on your belly. And this feels so amazing to be able to get that knee out in line with your hips and to actually feel what it feels like to be in a good position for tree without the fear of falling over. You can rest your forehead on the backs of your hands. You can stay lifted. I like to stay lifted because it always helps me open up into my chest, into my pecs. Because as a climber, I'm usually just hunched forward, all the muscles in the front of my body are just get overdeveloped. All right, slowly walk your hands back. And now straighten out that bottom leg, which is your right leg, and we'll come into that gentle twist first. So place the bottom of your left foot on the other side of your right knee, rotating to the left, using that right elbow to push up and against the outside of your left knee. Looking behind you, try to relax your shoulders. And then we'll go a little deeper with a full seated spinal twist, so bend both knees. Make sure both hips are on the floor. Left hand goes behind your back. Inhale, lift that right arm up. Exhale, twist. All right, go ahead and gently untwist. So we're going to come into a standing position. So what you're going to do is you're going to push your hands into the floor. Slowly straighten out your legs. So your left leg is crossed over your right. So I want you to just basically uncross them. Keep your hip width apart, grabbing on to your big toes. And you're going to pull the top of your head closer to your mat. So you know what it feels like when you're on the floor. So you know how deep you can go without any fear of falling over. So I want you to see if you can go back to that depth. See if you can trust your body, trust the strength in your muscles, trust the length in your joints. All right, release your toes with a soft, gentle bend in your knees. Roll up into your mountain pose. Inhale as you lift both arms up, grabbing onto your right wrist. Exhale, leaning over to the left. Gently come back up, try the other side. Grab your left wrist, lean over to the right. Come back up, we'll add our leg. So you're gonna cross that right leg behind your left in that cross-legged pose. Lean to the left and then bend and straighten your left leg. Just getting a nice stretch. This feels really good on the shoulders and on the hips and the legs. All right, switch sides. You're gonna come back into your mountain pose. Grab onto your left wrist. Cross your left foot behind your right. Keep both legs straight first, and then take a gentle back bend. And then when you feel good, when you feel steady and you want to add a little bit of movement, go ahead and bend that right knee and straighten out that right leg, just to create a little movement. All right, come back into mountain pose. Place your hands back by your sides. Inhale as you lift both arms up out. You're gonna stay here, take your back bend, deep inhale. Exhale, swan dive forward, hinge at your hips, sleep with your heart. So this next is for your neck. So you're gonna interlace your fingers and place the palms of your hands behind your neck. And I just want your arms to go heavy. And I want you to massage your neck out. So I want you to like rotate your neck to the left and to the right. You can also shift, you can do some circles. This feels so good. It actually feels like I can literally take my head off of my shoulders.
That's such a wonderful feeling, that feeling of just weightlessness and not having the heaviness, the weight of your neck on your shoulders. All right, release your hands down to the floor, grabbing onto the backs of your calves, and I want you to forward fold. I want you to really this time rest your belly on your thighs, chest on your knees, forehead onto your shins. No light, no space or air can pass through your belly and your thighs. Release your calves. Go ahead and walk your hands forward into your plank. Slow chaturanga. Come up into a cobra pose. Exhale into down dog. From this downward facing dog, which feels amazing right now, it feels like I've got almost every joint loosened up. I'm gonna start on the left side. So you're gonna flip behind the balls of your feet, lunge your left foot forward, angle your right foot out to the side, and then I want you to walk both hands to the right side of your mat. So it's a wide stance forward fold. Grabbing onto your opposite elbows and just hang. Lower your hands down to the floor and start to shift your hips to the left and to the right, just to get into your inner thighs and outer hips. And then as you feel ready, lift your hands up and then rest your hands on your knees. And then we're gonna pause in temple pose. And then you're gonna roll your right shoulder to the floor, lift your left shoulder up to the ceiling, and then switch sides. Really good stretch for my low back and my shoulders. Deep stretch from my hips. All right, come back to midline. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna rotate, you're gonna lower your hands down to the floor, and you're gonna rotate, you're gonna shift your hips over to the left side, coming into this deep lunge. Hands to heart center, working on that balance. So if you can't come this low, don't worry about it. If you're here, you're still getting that stretch. You just have to work a little harder because it's your muscles that are holding you up. But you've got the flexibility. I mean, you're stretching, so you'll feel the deep stretch because you're stretching. All right, so from here, you're gonna place both hands onto the floor, and I want you to roll forward, coming into lizard pose, lowering both elbows down to the floor. So if this is too much for you, you can stay onto your fingertips. We're going to move into crooked monkey. So if you want to start gently by pressing your left knee away from you. Like so. And then if you want to stay here, you can stay here. If you want to go deeper, go ahead and bend that right knee. Reach behind you with that left hand, grabbing onto the outer edge of that right foot. Then of course, if you want to, you can lower back down onto your elbow. For your crooked monkey pose. All right, for pigeon, almost already there. You can just walk, continue to walk that left foot across your mat towards your wrist. So this is very different than a tree pose that we did on the floor. Now I'm getting the outer side, my glutes, and definitely my outer hip, versus the tree pose that we did was more inner thigh. My pigeon pose usually feels intense, but this feels really nice since we got into our hips so much more. If you want to come up onto the palms of your hands, you can. If you want to come into mermaid pose, bending your right knee, placing your toes on that right foot in your elbow crease and then clasping both hands behind you. All right, slowly, we're gonna come into tabletop. So you're gonna slide, keep your right knee on the floor, slide that left leg back. And now from here, you're gonna flip your down dog by placing the bottom of your left foot on the other side of your mat and then lifting your hips up to the ceiling, a very gentle way to come into a very deep back bend. And then unflip into downward facing dog. Once again, from your down dog, lunge your left foot forward. Walk both hands to the middle of your mat, and we're gonna go right to the other side. So you're gonna lunge to the right side, bending deeply into that right knee, maybe rolling onto your left heel to go a little deeper. And again, if you can't go that low, you're up here. It's perfectly fine because you're gonna lower both hands down to the floor, rotating to the back of your mat, rolling onto your left knee, coming into your lizard pose. I like this sequence because it just feels like you're rolling into the next deep stretch. Nothing's work, you're just melting into the next pose. All right, into your crooked monkey, start gently by pressing that right knee away from you, using your right hand. And then if that feels good and you want to move further, bend that left knee, reach behind you, grabbing onto the outer edge of your left foot, so your pinky toes with your left hand, just so that your biceps can get a nice stretch. Looking up to the ceiling continues the stretch up into the neck and the upper back. All right, slowly lowering that left foot down to the floor. Coming into your pigeon pose, just sliding that right foot across towards your left wrist. Create some length and space in your spine and then walk your hands slowly, resting your forehead on the mat. If you stay lifted in your pigeon and want to move on to mermaid pose, bend that left knee, grabbing onto your left foot, and then you might just stay here, just as that's where you're feeling the deepest, and you're getting everything out of the stretch. But if you can, if you want to move on to mermaid pose, take that right hand behind you, clasping your hands behind your head, and if you fall over, you have the couch to support you. You can always come back into this pose. All right, coming out of it slowly, lowering that left foot down to the floor. So you're gonna slide that right knee back, coming into a table pose first, and then you're gonna put your down dog is to place the bottom of your hand on the side of your mat, rolling up and lifting your hips up to the ceiling. All right, unflip into your down dog, lengthen into your plank. Exhale, chaturanga, lower yourself down to the floor. So the next is all about your shoulders. So you're on your mat, I'm gonna move the mat away from the couch. So you're airplane your arms out to the sides. This is for your shoulders. So you're going to slide that left palm in, just the left palm, and you're gonna take that right, the bottom of your left foot and place it on the other side of your right leg. Pushing away, getting into the front of your right shoulder. So when I first did the stretch, my palm was facing the mat, but then once I got into stretch, I rolled my hands so my palm was facing the ceiling. And you'll see it more when you go to the other side. So gently roll back onto your belly. You're gonna slide your right hand toward your right shoulder. Lift that right leg up, bending that right knee, placing it on the outside, the other side of your left leg. So my palm is still facing the floor. Now when I flip it up to the ceiling, Now I can even go deeper. A great stretch for the front and back of your shoulder. And then gently roll back onto the belly. So to get into the back of your hips and your low back, the arms are still airplane down to the side. You're going to lift that left foot up. And see how close you can get your foot to your arms. And it's okay if that right shoulder lifts just a little bit. Try the other side. Go and lift that left leg up and over. And then slow returning back onto the belly. Slide your hands back and sit back into your child's pose. Come up onto all fours into your table. Cross your ankles, roll back and over your feet. Lengthen your legs forward and lift both arms up. And then try to lead with your hips. So if you have a habit of diving forward like that, don't lift your hands up. Place your hands by your hips and then glide your hands forward. You see what a difference it made to your spine? All right, inhale, come back up. Go ahead and we'll come into just for the last bit of class, we'll do just a little bit of gentle movement. So we're gonna do 3 poses, a simple cross-legged pose, table, and down dog. So from your cross-legged pose, roll up onto all fours, uncross your ankles, downward facing dog. Table, cross the other leg on top of your other leg, come into your cross-legged pose. I know we have a habit of always crossing the same leg over the other. Switch it up. Roll forward, onto all fours, uncross your ankles, exhale, down dog. Last time, lower down onto your knees, this time crossing your left leg on top of your right. Ooh, sit into child's pose. Another fun thing to do is if you are at the front of your mat, to skip table and come into down dog from your cross-legged pose. So from here, since my right leg is in front of my left, I'm going to rotate to my left. So what you're going to do is you're going to rotate, keep your hips lifted, exhale, down dog. And then let's rotate to the other side. So you're going to swivel your hips to the right, sit into your cross-legged pose. So now your left leg is crossed over your right. Rotate your shoulders to the right. Both hands are on the floor. Lift your knees up. Exhale, down dog. One last time, rotate to the right. Sit back into your cross-legged pose. Good job. All right. So your hands are on your knees. We'll just take a couple of deep cleansing breaths in your cross-legged pose. As we started our practice off in your cross-legged pose, stretching our necks. I'm just going to scan your body from head to toe. How does every joint feel compared to when you started? My head feels so light. My head really feels like it's floating off of my shoulders. Feels like as if my hair wasn't so heavy, my head would just float up to the sky. Once you've acknowledged that you fulfilled your intention, and you've taken a good deep inhale and exhale, we can roll back onto our backs, onto our mats. I'm going to switch so that I'm on my mat. I'm going to straighten out your legs out in front of you. Heels are touching, feet are flopped out to either side. Hands are by your hips. Palms are facing the ceiling. Eyes are closed. Unclench your jaw. Soften your facial expression. Unfurl your eyebrows. If there's any tension anywhere in your body, try to focus on that tension. See if you can, with your breath, release any tightness or heaviness in that area. Please feel free to stay in this position for as long as you'd like. I'm going to start to come out of Shavasana gently by moving my fingers and my toes. Putting my right knee into my shoulder, sending my left knee into my chest, crossing my ankles, rocking to the left and to the right. Coming into happy baby pose because I love doing it so much because it's so great for my spine. Creating lots of space between my feet and my knees. Continuing to shift my weight to the left and to the right. And slowly coming over to your side, bringing your knees and your feet together. Rolling onto the right side of your mat. If you need to take an extra breath, by all means, take an extra breath. And then gently lift up into that cross-legged pose. Hands to heart center. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for participating in tonight's class. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. I feel so light, I feel amazing. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. Namaste.